Hey there, welcome back to No Pants Profits. Now, since my last video where I talked about getting detained at the airport, there's been a lot of people that have gone, oh, you can't tell people not to come to Egypt, or you can tell people not to come to Egypt, and there's been a lot of kind of infighting. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to make two videos right now. You're watching one of these videos, the second one's going to release at the same time. This is going to be my top 10 list of the best things that I saw in Egypt. My top 10, kind of like David Letterman back in the day with The Tonight Show. So let's start off the top 10 with the seventh wonder of the world, the last remaining wonder of the ancient world, which is the pyramids and the Sphinx. Now, this is something we saw on the first day, and seeing it in person is just absolutely amazing, absolutely phenomenal. I mean, kind of mind-blowing, and even cooler when you can actually see it and walk around it on the back of a camel. I will give a slight negative here. It is cramped to get into the pyramids, and our guide said, hey, there's nothing actually inside of the pyramids, so just so you know, there's really not much to see if you do want to go inside the pyramids. I made it right up to the entrance of the pyramid, and I said, nope, that's too tight. I am not going in there. So the pyramids and the Sphinx, fantastic. You want to see an ancient wonder of the world, mind-blowing, really, really cool. Number two, I actually thought this was really awesome. There were so many modes of transit in Egypt. From a camel, which we actually used as transit. Those who didn't go on a camel got in a bus and went the same place the camel went. One day we didn't have a bus, we were on a river cruise, which we'll get to the river cruise in a minute. One day we didn't have a bus, we were on a river cruise, so we took a horse-drawn carriage to the temple we needed to go to. Another day we went out to a village, and we took a boat to that village, and yes, the boat looked like it was right out of the Jungle Cruise, because guess what? It was. That's what the Jungle Cruise boats were based on. But the various modes of transit are absolutely amazing. Yeah, we took a bus sometimes, but the riverboat took us a lot of places. We had planes, no trains. Planes, trains, and automobiles, but no trains. Or replace the trains with buses and sailboats and Congo river boats that, you know, they're not in the Congo, but Nile river boats and everything like that. The modes of transit, the different variation of the modes of transit that we used were absolutely phenomenal. Plus, dirty secret, in the big cities, they actually have Uber, and it's cheap as hell. Next up, let's talk about the river cruise. No visit to the Nile is, not the Nile, no visit to Egypt is done, finished, completed, you know, is without going on a river cruise. There are over 350 river cruise boats all along the Nile River, different sections. The largest section you can transit actually goes from Luxor to Aswan, or Aswan to Luxor, depending whether you're going up and down or up, or different things like that. And the river cruise, we were on the MS Mayfair, was absolutely fantastic. Now here's the thing, does it meet the standards of a Ritz-Carlton? No. Does it meet the standards of a Princess Cruises, a Celebrity Cruises? No. But is it perfect for where we are? Yes. Yes, for being in Egypt, for being in the hot, I will tell you, their towel animals were second to none of I've seen on any other cruise ship before. Any other ship, they had the best towel animals I've ever seen in my life. Period. They also knew it was 100 degrees outside, so it had the best air conditioner anyone could ever ask for, including an air conditioning right in your face when you came back on board the boat. And if you've never gone on a river cruise before, it is truly an experience, because every time you go back to your boat, you get to walk through 2, 3, 4, 5 of the other boats in a row that are just kind of lined up and everything like that, waiting for you to come on in. I was not the hugest fan of the food on the riverboat, but I mean, that's food in Egypt, and got a whole nother video on that. But I will tell you, the experience as a whole on the riverboat was absolutely fantastic. Again, we were on the MS Mayfair, which has the MS Mayfair, the MS Mayflower, and one other ship, but I've heard things from people that were on other river cruises and really don't have any complaints right there. Now, let's talk about number 4, the Cairo Museum. I have only ever been to another museum of that caliber once before. And, you know, I recommended in my video that Americans don't go to Cairo, don't go to Egypt. I still stand by that. But, you know, it's still a place you can go. A place you can't go is where I think it has a museum that is equivalent to this museum, which is the Hermitage Museum in Russia. You know, the Hermitage Museum is kind of the after Christ period. They have Da Vinci's, they have Michelangelo's, they have Donatello's. Yes, all the Ninja Turtles are there in the Hermitage. But we're not talking about the Hermitage. We are talking about the Cairo Museum. And I have to say, the old Cairo Museum, because the new Cairo Museum is kind of like Elon Musk and these self-driving Teslas. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Hurry up and wait. But the old Cairo Museum has the head, the crown of King Tut, as well as the chairs. Well, the throne of King Tut. And, you know, growing up, I went to Busch Gardens in Florida all the time, and they have the chair of King Tut on display. Well, they had. It's gone now. In their Egypt section of the park, they had the chair of King Tut on display. So to see that in person was amazing. To see the headpiece, the thing like you've seen in everything about Egypt and the whole damn world, to see that headpiece is absolutely phenomenal too. But unfortunately, they don't let you take photos in there, so you do have to like pay for a private photo session, like $20,000 for an hour, because that is the antiquity that Egypt has. You know, it's one of the things that people come to Egypt for. So just in that one section of the museum where those antiquities are, they don't let you take photos. But there's mummies, there's statues, I mean, it's so well preserved. And you know, if you're saying, hey Rich, why might you go back in the future? Well, maybe to see that new museum, because that new museum, what I've seen, looks really, really insane of it. But again, I'm not holding my breath on going back anytime in the near future, especially after releasing some of these videos, which are just the honest truth. Now let's talk about number 5. I am a Tut maniac, like a Hulk maniac. People like Hulk Hogan. I've always liked King Tut. That's the reason I've kind of went to Egypt, and you know, I got to see his headpiece. But you know, the cool thing is, everybody talks about the tomb of King Tut. So there is a place called the Valley of the Kings. We got to go in a couple tombs on our tour that were included, and then Tut's not included with anything. That's about a $10 upcharge. That is an awesome tomb, to be able to go down, see where they buried King Tut, see where there were supposed to be many rooms, but there was only one burial chamber, because he died super early. He died at like 18 or 19 years old. But what's really cool is they still have the box that held the sarcophagus. Sarcophagi. Yeah, sarcophagus. They have the box that holds the sarcophagus. Now, inside of that box were the gold boxes, which are in the last thing we talked about, the Cairo Museum. But they even have the mummy of King Tutankhamun. And you can see that, and it's really cool. It's actually really cool. It's a pain to get there. It's very, very hot there if you go when I went in April. But once you go get there, it kind of fades away. Now, I want to talk about our guide. Now, I don't want to blast or say who the guide is, because I have said some true but negative things about Egypt. Our guide was excellent. And going off that, what I'm talking about is the hospitality staff in Egypt were excellent. The people who we were paying for service, the hotel staff, the first hotel we were at, there was a guy there that was taking care of everything. In the cruise ship, there was a hotel manager who was always accessible. His staff, his bartenders, everything like that. The executive chef, the maitre d', it's at a level far above. I know, this is strange. The service level is far above what you're going to get on an American cruise ship, period. Now, I could say that because I worked on cruise ships for 7 years. I've been on cruise ships all the time. Nicest crew I've ever met, and I'll tell you, we were on for 4 days, and the recommended tip for 4 days was $25 a person. That's how far the American dollar goes, and we'll get there. We'll get there in a minute. That's going to be actually the next statement. But I gave a lot more than that. And like my total bill, drinking and doing everything on the river cruise for 4 days was $36. $36. Why? Because I stuck to local drinks, local things, local beer, local liquor. And I have a whole video on local liquor as well if you want to watch them. But when we're talking about that, like I said, $36 was my total. Now, if you were to say want a Jack and Coke and not be willing to take an Aloha local rum and Coke, or if you wanted a margarita with real tequila and you did not want, I know this is weird, but it's a real thing, Egyptian tequila. I know, it sounds insane, but there is such a thing as Egyptian tequila. You would pay a lot more on things that were imported. And the amazing thing is, their main currency is the US dollar. I thought I would need to exchange and get a lot of their local currency and stuff like that. I exchanged $40 for their local currency the entire time I was there. Elsewise, I was just paying with American money, and your American money goes far. On the boat, MS Mayfair, you could, we're going back to the old one, but when we're talking about American money, you could get a giant beer, like a 500 milliliter beer, local beer, not anything imported, either a Stella, their version of Stella, not Stella Artois, or a pyramid beer, I'm trying to remember the name of it. You can get that for $2.50 American. $1 would get you far more in Egypt than it does in the United States, and that purchasing power is absolutely amazing. The problem is the flip side. If you do want to use a credit card, they're not generally, there's a couple exceptions to that rule, but they're not generally going to be charging you in dollars. They're going to be generally charging you in Egyptian pounds, because their banks force them to charge in Egyptian pounds and keep that money alive. But I will note, we did actually go to McDonald's. The tour guide wanted to go to McDonald's, and 5 of us went to McDonald's, and just in the last week that we had been there, the McDonald's prices have gone up dramatically for the locals because the buying power of the dollar, and e.g. then the Egyptian pound, for non-local goods, because even though McDonald's was a local company, it's not really a local good, it was like 20% more, 15% more week over week. So, you know, when people say Egypt's not a third world country, you don't have currency fluctuate like that on a week-by-week basis and not be a third world country, even though they are using American dollars. That was number 7, that it took US dollars. And number 8, we're going to talk about Abu Simbel, which was an optional excursion that we took that was literally 7 hours on a bus. 3.5 hours one way, 3.5 hours the other way. Was it worth it? 2 thumbs way, 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 way up. And we even got to stop by on our way, and on our way back from Abu Simbel, we got to go to Bumfuck Egypt. I know, I called it that way. There's a road called Road 75. I don't really know what they call it, interstate, intrastate. We'll just call it Highway 75, that goes between Aswan and Abu Simbel, and right in the middle of that road, there is a little desert oasis. And that desert oasis will, it's in the middle of nowhere. And if you look around, you say, where are you? You go, you're in bumfucking Egypt. And everybody, after I said that, had to take a picture, or 2, or a few, or some videos, and send them to bumfucking Egypt. But Abu Simbel is the most well-preserved piece of Egypt I've ever seen. It is beautiful. It's not gigantic. It's not like the pyramids. It's not something you'll see from miles and miles away. It's from the back. It's a mound of dirt. But when you get around the front and you see that temple and you see that facade of Ramses, you're like, that looks like a movie set. And trust me, we will, we'll get there in a minute. Or when you go and you see the facade of the temple next door that was for Queen Nefertiti, it's just amazing how well preserved it was, and what they did to actually keep it alive, keep it there, is phenomenal, because it was lower on a mountain and the river started coming up, and they had to cut it block by block by block by block and move it. So I give the people in charge of antiquities in Egypt, I give them all the props I actually can give them, because everything was so well preserved, and it's amazing how well preserved it is, and we'll come back to that, but let's go to number 9. Kind of unique. They don't care about overweight baggage. When I left the country, my bag weighed about 80 pounds. I guess they just want you to spend money there because my bag got a heavy tag and I got no additional charge. And this is not just unique to me. Nobody got an additional charge for overweight baggage. We did have 2 flights inside the country, one from Cairo to Luxor and one from Aswan back to Cairo. They weighed the bags, but they were incredibly overweight. My bag, again, weighed 80 pounds, which is more than even the high-end weight that they'd have in some of these airlines in the US, and they did not charge me a penny more. Now for number 10, and I think one of the most impressive ones is it really does look like a movie set. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, it's so well executed, so well done. My background in knowing about Egypt in real life was pretty much the Luxor in Las Vegas. And watching movies, watching Indiana Jones, watching things like that. It's so well preserved that it feels like, I'm not trying to cheapen it, I'm trying to do anything like that. It feels like you are literally on a movie set. So you are on a television or a movie set. It's fantastic. It is phenomenal. And it's kind of mind-blowing that everything is actually real. You can turn around. They do light some things, and they do light them very tastefully, like the tombs where there's not light, and the temples where there's not light. They light them very tastefully. We went to the crocodile temple in the middle of the night, and it was lit beautifully. You got to see a clip of this here. I'll show you a little bit of the crocodile temple. But, I mean, it's really amazing how well the Department of Antiquities has actually done here. So that is my top 10 list of positives. I'm going to tell you at the exact same time this top 10 list of positives comes out, I'm going to have 10 things I hate about Egypt. So you can make up your mind on your own. If you do have any questions, you think I got something wrong on this list, I don't think I did. Again, number 1, the pyramids and the Sphinx. Number 2, the various methods of transport. Number 3, the river cruise. Number 4, the Cairo Museum. Number 5, the Valley of the Kings. Number 6, great service by the staff that were really there for tourists. Number 7, they took the US dollars. Number 8, Abu Simbel, the hidden gem. Number 9, they don't care about overweight baggage. And number 10, it looks like the movies. This is a positive list. And I want you to take the positives with the negatives. So there's going to be a 10 things I hate about list as well. Also, I do have an entire playlist you'll see at the end of this video that's going to go over all 7 days of our 9-day vacation, because the first day just included dinner and the last day just included breakfast. So guess what? I'm calling it 7 days. But super detailed everywhere we went, including the optional excursions and everything like that. But this was 10 things I loved about Egypt. Got any questions, comments, concerns? Drop them below, but make sure you check out the 10 things I hated as well, because top 10 list and top 10 hater list, they kind of go hand in hand in deciding whether you want to go to Egypt. This is Richard from No Pants Profits reminding you that when you wear no pants, there's only one thing you got left to lose, and that is your shirt. Have a great one. Bye!